Enhancing Lightroom workflow with Luminar Neo is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now. Hello, everyone. All right, so we're going to work on enhancing your Lightroom workflow. Now, I've said this a million times. Getting a photographer to change their religion, change their political affiliate, you name it, is so much easier than getting them to change their workflow. And Skylum recognizes that, and we understand. So we're not here to make your workflow complicated. What we want to do is enhance it. So features that Lightroom wasn't designed to do, but would take years to master in Photoshop, that's where Luminar Neo comes in as a plugin. Now, a lot of you here are using it as a standalone program. If you do decide, or if you are currently using it as a digital asset manager, because that's what Lightroom is known for, then you could use Luminar Neo as a plugin, or for your favorite features. You want to bounce back and forth. So let me give you an example. So right now I'm in Lightroom, and here's the first image that actually started me with Skylum. What we're going to do is this. I'm going to take this image, and we'll do a little cropping and stuff, and then bring it into Luminar Neo and use the dramatic tool. That was what got me started with Luminar Neo, so I'm excited to share this with you. All right? So here, actually, you know what? I like the crop right where it's at, so I'm going to leave it where it is. I could right-click, and we can come in here and say Edit In, and there it is, Luminar Neo. And here's Luminar Neo up here. If you don't see Luminar Neo, then come up here to your edit. And what we're going to do is come down to preferences. And under preferences, this is where you would start, where you would actually apply it. Here we go. So I'm going to go to external editing. And I'm going to use Luminar Neo. If you don't see it here, click choose, and then browse your computer and go to the Skylum folder, and this is where you would link it to it. Color space, it's up to you. I prefer Adobe RGB. Your bit depth, we went into this whole discussion about it. But this right here, stack with original, I like that because what that does for me is it puts it back with the original image, so I know exactly where it is. And then for the template, I like to use the file name. So I like it to come back with the same file name. It'll just come back with a TIFF extension. All right. So right click, edit in, and I already have it here. Now I have a choice. I could use it as a Lightroom adjustment. I can edit with the Lightroom adjustments. And since I didn't do any adjustments here, you can have the original or a copy of it. And notice all the settings are the same here. Edit. Now, I do have Luminar Neo already running. The beauty of this is it'll run it as a plugin, and it'll also run the standalone version side by side. So it's running it at the same time. Let's see. So Lightroom, give it a moment. Now, I think because I have system resources, keep in mind, Lightroom is a memory hog. Luminar Neo likes to use its memory too. Photoshop, Zoom. So when you're editing, try to close down as much as the excess stuff that you don't need. If you're running a Google browser, shut it down. And right now, Lightroom is launching the program. So again, it's battling between all of my system resources. Give it a moment. But so here is where it's going to open up in a moment. And there it is. So it's going to open it up. Now I have decisions to make. I could start off right here, let's say, and just do a preset. I could start with a simple preset. And for this photo right here, let me move out of the way. Look at this. It's going to suggest, hey, you know, this image will look really good using one of these presets. And here it comes. It's going to apply this one. Look at that. I love that. That looks great. But keep in mind, you can do black and white inside Lightroom. So I'm going to get rid of that for a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that one special tool that was designed just for me, and that's under the creative tools. Here it is, my sports grit look under dramatic. I'm going to apply a generous amount, but the saturations for this, I'm going to tone it down just a little bit. Bring the brightness down. Now, it still looks like a photo. So I didn't go overboard with, like, I don't want to use the word, an overbaked edit. Look at this. It still looks it. Now, I'm going to take it a step further. Let's come down here to the mood tool, which is our LUTs. And I'm going to use, let's see, creative wooden. Let's use wooden. Oh, look at this. Ooh, that's giving me that little vintage look. There it is. Look at that. So I love what it's looking like. I got it all set. Now, you know what? Let's try mystical. I'm going to add just a little bit amount, because again, it goes a long way. Yeah, look at it. Mystical's pretty good. I don't like what it's doing to his face. I'm going to dial it back for a moment. Now, I like where it's at. What I'm going to do is this. And remember, we're using this as a plugin. I'm going to save it as a preset, just in case I want to come back in again. So let's give it a moment. And there it is. And I already saved one under Cowboy. So we'll call this Cowboy 2. Now, the reason I'm doing this is if you decide to come back from Lightroom into Luminar Neo, now you don't have to start over again. You could start with this preset. So let's call it Cowboy version 2. There it is. Now that I have it set, if I hit apply, it's going to export it. It's going to bring it back into Lightroom. It's going to stack it where I want it to be. And I have my edit. So this is one of those tools that you could do in Lightroom, but it's going to take a while for you to use clarity and all these other tools to get it to look the way you want it. Now, I love how it is, right? So let's say, oh, that's Lightroom. This lights out. This is what it looks like. I'm going to come back in and G for grid view. So here's the original. Now let's say I want to apply that same preset to this image here. Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't want to keep going out of Lightroom into Luminar Neo, back again, back and forth, back and forth. So I have a really cool way to do this for you where we could batch process. So in this case here, let's say I'm going to develop, and let's say you did do some Lightroom editing here. I just want to do a simple crop. And there we go. All right, so let's say you did all these images here. So I ended up coming through and I did all these images, got them the way I like them. Now I want to apply that same preset that I just did. Watch what I'm going to do instead. Let's just select a couple of them. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of them. Here's that little trick. Right click. I'm going to export it. But this time, and actually, you know what? Yeah, let's go export. I'm going to open up my export dialog. But what I'm going to do now is I want Lightroom to export it to a hard drive. And I'm going to give it a specific folder. What folder? I named it to be processed. Now, here's the beauty of this. Watch. I could choose the folder. I could create the folder. Either or, I have it going to that folder, which is linked already inside Luminar Neo. I'm going to use a TIFF, get all my settings set, export. Now, notice right up here in the corner, it's going to export those 3 files. Where is it exporting it to? Right over here where it says to be processed. So let me show you where that's at. So this image here, I'm going to right click. Get out of it. and I'm going to show it in the folder. Well, here it is. Look, right over up to the other side. I put it into the folder. Let me get out of the way for you. So it's under South Dakota, but notice up here it says to be processed. But I don't see those images I just exported. That's because in Lightroom, you have to synchronize the folder. And sure enough, it found those three. And it's going to synchronize them. And there those three coming in are, right? Well, that's fine. However, we're going to come in, and I have the standalone version already opened. Notice under Dakota, how cool is that? Because to be processed was part of Luminar, because of that Dakota file structure, it automatically brought it into Luminar Neo for me. That is something that is so cool that the engineers did. It's an active folder. It's like the old-fashioned hot swappable folders or a hot folder. Now that I have it set, I could right-click, or I can come in here under my presets. And under my presets, there's Mark, my good friend, my presets. Let it open up. And when it opens up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it one time. So here it is. Let me apply it. There we go. And I want to just give it a small amount right about here. Now, before I go any further, edit. Now, what it didn't show me was my Cowboy 2, which is fine. So what you do have to do in a case like that, if you don't see it, exit out of Luminar Neo and then go back into it, because Lightroom, the plugin, didn't catch up to this part, but that's fine. So this one right here, what I am going to do is I went a little heavy-handed on the Mystical tool. Yeah, look at that. So I'm going to dial it back a little bit. And there, now I'm back where I wanted to be. So now that I have all this set, right-click, adjustment, I want to copy it. Now look at this. I'm going to select these, right-click, adjustment, paste adjustments. Now it's pasting. I just realized something here too. We used high-res TIFFs. So I was wondering why this was taking a little bit longer. Typically JPEGs are fine, but let's stay with the workflow. I have high-res TIFFs. So it is taking a little longer to export. So I have them all set. Now I want them back into Lightroom with these edits. How am I going to do that? We're going to export it. And I'm going to browse. Now I know it's under the travel photography. I did, let's see, black here is Dakotas. There it is, to be processed. Select the folder. I want to bring them back as a JPEG this time. Now they're already in there as a TIFF. I could just overwrite them, or I could just bring them in as a JPEG. Let's just do the JPEG for now. Export. Now it's going to take those images, apply the custom preset to it, export them back into that particular folder, which we've already established. We have it inside Lightroom. The difference is, with Lightroom, Lightroom wants us to come in and tell it to resynchronize. So we need to resynchronize. Notice Luminar Neo is doing it automatically. Look at this. There's the TIFF. There's the JPEG. They're coming in. So that's what I love about Luminar Neo, is that I'm able to see it in real time. Great. Now let's go back to Lightroom. Notice the changes aren't there, but that's okay. Right click, synchronize the folder, and look, it found 3 of them. And it's going to bring them in. And there they are. 1, 2, and 3. Now, if I want to see the originals with it, then I just click on the to be processed folder, and there's all 6 of them now. Now you can make a decision. Do I want to keep the JPEGs, or do I want to keep the TIFFs? Because remember, that was temporary. So I am going to come in, and I'm going to select these TIFFs because I don't need them anymore. I'll hit delete, and I'm also going to delete them, not just from Lightroom, but from my disk. And now I have my Lightroom, or my Photoshop, try that again. Now that I have my Luminar Neo edits automatically in, let's just make sure one thing. If I go back to Luminar Neo, look at that. They removed them for me. So that right there is a little file maintenance. How neat is that? All right. Let me take you through one more thing. So I showed you a round trip. That was the bonus. But what if, let's say in a case like this, our collection, let's say in my collection, I have bracketing images. Well, how do I get the bracketing ones in? That's where you do have to come up here to the file. And from here, we'll click export again. Now, when the export dialog comes up, now I'm going to select Luminar Neo right here. This is going to give me additional features. Look, I could do focus stacking, HDR merge, open source is the original file, there's stitch panorama, and then I can upscale. So now I have all those features that normally were only for the standalone features. I have those special ones automatically being added to whichever ones I select, and I bring it in, and the plugin feature takes over. All right, so that is a really cool feature. Remember, if you want to export it to your hard drive, that's where you put it here. If I want to export it to Luminar Neo, that's where I select it up here. And then I can select one of these, let's say merge. I can use the original format, a TIFF, whatever I want. Those are where you would add your extra features. All right? How cool is that? So if you're a Lightroom user and you want to stay with Lightroom, but you love the features of Luminar Neo, I just showed you a really great way to be able to use both of them together to enhance your Lightroom experience using the creative tools in Luminar Neo. So that's something to work on. And then I gave you a little bonus tip. And that bonus tip was, if you want to batch process a preset you've created, export it inside Lightroom as a TIFF. It automatically appears Luminar Neo if that folder's connected. Do your changes and then round trip back in. All right. Now, by the way, if you're not part of it yet, please join our Facebook group to where this tutorial and everything we're doing will be over there in the Facebook group where you can ask questions. So if you're not here live, you can ask us questions in that Facebook group or on YouTube. And we also have Luminar Mobile. The Android version is what's new, and I absolutely fall in love with it. Check it out. If you don't have it, scan the QR code, and I'll give you one more. If you don't already have Luminar Neo, there's where you can scan that code and download it. Also, if you are a member, scan that because I believe you could also still get a discount on Luminar Marketplace. All right? Well, guys, if you're here, please stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment. For everyone else, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.